The rain was relentless, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. I sat in my car, parked a block away from our house in Minneapolis, the house I thought was a home, a sanctuary. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, as I replayed the scene from earlier that evening. I'm Kenan, 44, a software architect. My life, until a few weeks ago, had been a predictable rhythm of work, family dinners, and weekend hikes with my wife, Aaliyah. Aaliyah was a kindergarten teacher, a warm, patient woman who always seemed to have a smile for everyone. We'd been married for 15 years, met in college, and built what I believed was a solid, loving partnership. We had our ups and downs, of course, but nothing that seemed insurmountable. Until Samir entered the picture. Samir was Aaliyah's new colleague. He joined the school at the beginning of the academic year, and Aaliyah had mentioned him a few times, always in passing. Samir is really great with the kids, she'd say, or Samir has some interesting ideas for the curriculum. I didn't think much of it. Colleagues are colleagues. Then, about a month ago, I started noticing subtle changes in Aaliyah. She was spending more time on her phone, often giggling or smiling to herself. She was also working late more frequently, claiming that she had to prepare for new projects or attend meetings. I tried to brush it off, attributing it to work stress. But a nagging feeling persisted, a knot of unease in my stomach. The first real red flag was the password. Aaliyah had always been open with her phone and computer. We didn't snoop on each other, but we also didn't have anything to hide. Then suddenly she put a password on her phone. When I asked her about it, she said it was for security reasons, that the school had recommended it. It sounded flimsy, but I let it go. Then came the emails. I handle all the finances, so I check our joint email account regularly. A few weeks ago, I noticed an email from a florist with the subject line, "Your order confirmation." I opened it curious and saw that Aaliyah had ordered a bouquet of roses to be delivered to Samir. There was no last name, just Samir, and an address I didn't recognize. My heart sank. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a thank you gift for something work-related. Maybe it was a different Samir. But deep down, I knew. I started paying closer attention to Aaliyah's behavior. I noticed she was dressing differently, wearing clothes she hadn't worn in years. She was also more distant, less affectionate. When I tried to talk to her, she'd brush me off, saying she was tired or stressed. The knot in my stomach tightened. I decided I needed to know the truth. I couldn't live with the uncertainty any longer. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I snooped. Aaliyah had left her laptop open on the kitchen counter while she went to take a shower. I knew it was wrong, but I had to know. I sat down at the laptop, my hands trembling, and opened her email. It didn't take long to find what I was looking for. Aaliyah and Samir had been having an affair for months. The emails were explicit, filled with declarations of love and longing. My world shattered. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The pain was physical, a crushing weight on my chest. I read through the emails, each word a knife twisting in my heart. They talked about their secret meetings, their stolen kisses, their plans for the future. They even talked about leaving their spouses and starting a new life together. I closed the laptop, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I couldn't breathe. I stumbled outside, gasping for air. I walked around the block, trying to process what I just read. It felt like a nightmare, a cruel joke. How could Aaliyah do this to me? How could she betray me so completely? When Aaliyah came downstairs, I confronted her. I didn't yell or scream. I just showed her the emails. Her face drained of color. She didn't deny it. She couldn't. She just stood there silent, tears streaming down her face. "How could you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She didn't answer. She just kept crying. I walked out of the house, got in my car, and drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to get away to escape the pain. I ended up parked a few blocks away, the rain pouring down, my heart broken. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, things have been a blur. We've been living in separate rooms, barely speaking. We've started seeing a therapist, but it feels pointless. The trust is gone, shattered beyond repair. Aaliyah claims she regrets what she did, that it was a mistake, that she still loves me. But I don't know if I can believe her. The emails are seared into my memory, a constant reminder of her betrayal. I've also learned more about Samir. He's married too, with 2 young children. I haven't contacted his wife, Brielle, yet. I don't know what to say. I don't want to be the one to break her heart, but I also feel like she deserves to know the truth. Tonight, I decided to follow Aaliyah. She's been working late a lot lately, and I wanted to see where she was really going. I waited until she left the house, then I followed her in my car. She drove to a small Italian restaurant on the other side of town. I parked across the street and watched as she met Samir. They sat at a corner table holding hands, whispering to each other. I felt a surge of anger, a burning rage that threatened to consume me. I wanted to storm into the restaurant to confront them, to expose their affair to the world, but I didn't. I just sat there, watching, my heart breaking all over again. After a few hours, they left the restaurant. Samir dropped Aaliyah off a few blocks from our house. She walked the rest of the way, alone in the rain. I followed her home, then drove back to my parking spot, my mind racing. I don't know what to do. I'm torn between wanting to forgive Aaliyah and wanting to punish her. I want to save our marriage, but I don't know if it's possible. The pain is too deep, the betrayal too profound. As I sat there, lost in my thoughts, I noticed a car pull up behind Aaliyah's. A man got out, a man I recognized as Samir. He walked up to Aaliyah, who was standing on the porch fumbling with her keys. They embraced, a long, passionate kiss. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me then. Samir handed Aaliyah something. It looked like a small package. Aaliyah took it, thanked Samir, and went inside. Samir got back in his car and drove away. I waited a few minutes, then I got out of my car and walked towards the house. I let myself in with my key. Aaliyah was in the living room, unwrapping the package. It was a necklace, a delicate silver chain with a heart-shaped pendant. "What's that?" I asked, my voice trembling. Aaliyah jumped, startled. She quickly hid the necklace behind her back. "It's nothing," she said, her voice strained. "Don't lie to me," I said, my anger rising. "What is it?" She hesitated, then slowly revealed the necklace. I recognized it immediately. It was the same necklace I had seen Samir give her on the porch. "He gave you that, didn't he?" I said, my voice shaking. Aaliyah didn't answer. She just looked down at the floor. "How could you?" I said, my voice filled with pain. "How could you do this to me?" "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely audible. "Sorry isn't enough," I said, my anger reaching a boiling point. "You've destroyed everything. You've destroyed our marriage, our family, our life." I turned and walked out of the house, slamming the door behind me. I got in my car and drove away, tears streaming down my face. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm going to do. All I know is that I can't stay there, not anymore. It's over. My marriage is over. I drove aimlessly for hours, the rain still falling, the city lights blurring into streaks of color. I thought about Aaliyah, about our life together, about the dreams we had shared. It all seemed like a distant memory, a beautiful illusion that had been shattered by her betrayal. As the night wore on, my anger began to subside, replaced by a deep sense of sadness and loss. I realized that I couldn't let Aaliyah's actions define me. I couldn't let her destroy my life. I needed to find a way to move on, to heal, to rebuild. I decided to drive to Brielle's house. I knew it was late, but I couldn't wait any longer. She deserved to know the truth. I found her address online and drove to her neighborhood. I parked a few blocks away and walked to her house. It was a modest two-story home with a swing set in the backyard. I hesitated for a moment, then I rang the doorbell. A woman answered the door, her face tired, her eyes red-rimmed. It was Brielle. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice wary. "My name is Kenan," I said. "I'm Aaliyah's husband. I need to talk to you about Samir." Brielle's face paled. She knew. I could see it in her eyes. She invited me inside. We sat in her living room, surrounded by children's toys and family photos. I told her everything about Aaliyah's affair, about the emails, about the necklace. She listened in silence, her eyes filling with tears. When I finished, she thanked me for telling her the truth. She said she had suspected something was going on, but she hadn't wanted to believe it. We talked for hours, sharing our stories, our pain, our anger. We found solace in each other's company, a shared understanding of the betrayal we had both experienced. In the end, we decided to support each other. We agreed to confront Aaliyah and Samir together, to expose their affair to their families and friends. We also decided to seek legal advice to protect our rights and our futures. I left Brielle's house feeling a sense of purpose, a renewed determination to move on with my life. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but I knew I wasn't alone. I had Brielle and I had myself. I would survive this. I would rebuild. I would find happiness again. The next day, Brielle and I met with a lawyer. We discussed our options, our rights, and our strategies. We decided to file for divorce and to seek full custody of our children. We also decided to expose Aaliyah and Samir's affair to their employers and their families. We started by contacting the school where Aaliyah and Samir worked. We presented them with the evidence of their affair, including the emails and the text messages. The school board was shocked and appalled. They immediately suspended Aaliyah and Samir, pending an investigation. Next, we contacted Aaliyah and Samir's families. We told them everything about the affair, about the lies, about the betrayal. Their families were devastated. They couldn't believe that Aaliyah and Samir had been capable of such deceit. The news of the affair spread quickly. Aaliyah and Samir were ostracized by their friends and colleagues. They lost their jobs, their reputations, and their families. They were left with nothing but each other. As for me, I filed for divorce and moved out of the house. I started seeing a therapist who helped me process my emotions and heal from the trauma. I focused on my work, my friends, and my hobbies. I started exercising, eating healthy, and taking care of myself. I slowly began to rebuild my life. It wasn't easy. There were days when I felt overwhelmed by sadness and anger. There were days when I missed Aaliyah despite everything she had done. But I persevered. I refused to let her define me. I refused to let her destroy my life. Eventually, I started dating again. I met a wonderful woman named Saida who was kind, compassionate, and understanding. She had been through a similar experience, and she knew what I was going through. We connected on a deep level, and we quickly fell in love. Saida helped me heal from the past and look forward to the future. She showed me that it was possible to love again, to trust again, to be happy again. Aaliyah and Samir eventually left Minneapolis. I heard they moved to another state where they started a new life together. I don't know if they're happy. I don't care. I've moved on. I've found peace. I've found love. Looking back, I realized that Aaliyah's affair was a turning point in my life. It was a painful, devastating experience, but it also taught me valuable lessons about love, loss, and resilience. It showed me that I was stronger than I thought I was, that I could survive anything, that I could find happiness again, even after the deepest betrayal. And as for Brielle, we became close friends. We supported each other through our divorces, and we helped each other rebuild our lives. We even started a support group for people who had been betrayed by their spouses. We wanted to help others heal from the pain and find hope for the future. We proved that even after the most devastating betrayal, it is possible to find love, happiness, and peace. Tonight, I sat in my car, the rain still falling, but the storm inside me had passed. I was no longer the broken, angry man who had sat there 3 weeks ago. I was a survivor. I was a fighter. I was ready to move on with my life. I started the car and drove home to Saida, to my new life. I knew that the road ahead would be long and challenging, but I was ready for it. I had learned from the past, and I was determined to create a better future. A future filled with love, happiness, and peace. I had survived Aaliyah's betrayal. And I had emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before.